A little over a year and a half ago, God led my family and I to Life Center Church, and it has been an incredible year and a half for us, and we've seen God do some incredible things. We've seen lives change, we've seen people baptized, we've seen our giving increase. There's been a lot that has gone on, but you know what? It didn't start with me. It started way before I got here. Life Center's story started almost 9 years ago.
Anytime you follow the Lord, there's always an unknown. He's a popcorn trail of faith God. He is the God that says, go to a land that I will show you. We knew that we wanted to come breathe life into a community. We knew that we wanted to plant a church that really reached young couples, but not just reach them on the surface.
You know, the cliche of home is where the heart is. I mean, a church home is where Christ is. It's where God is. It's where a body of believers is gathered in His name to worship Him and to minister to the community. And God's provided that. We have, Life Center's always had a church home.
I enjoy so much being here Sunday mornings and shaking hands and high-fiving the little kids as they come in. This COVID thing's been killing me because you can't touch people. It's weird in that respect, but you know, just being, you know, look at what God did for us. If we can just give Him a little dab of something, you know, of our time, talent, or, you know, gifts. I mean, I think it brings joy.
Well, and for me, I feel like it's the sharing of joy. That to me is what's the best part of being at church, because, and that's what I feel like this church offers, is just a generous amount of joy, and that's what draws me in every week and want to be here with everybody that we kind of associate with.
For me, what made this a church is the people that are there, you know, and everybody all being unified and having the same mission and having the same drive, and just being a part of something that you know is blessed and favored by God.
As most of you know, we kicked a series off a couple weeks ago called Thrive. And in this series, what we've been doing is we've been studying the book of Exodus, and we've been looking at the promises of God, okay? And what we are learning, and what we have learned, is that God is working a plan. And it's a good plan that's built on His promises. And that plan built on His promises rarely plays out how we think it's going to play out. But in the end, His plan always prevails. That His plan is to see His people move from merely just surviving in life to becoming a people who are thriving. Now, He will prompt us to sacrifice something so that we can experience more, something greater. And what we learned last week was that it's the prompts of God that lead to the promises of God. That He wants us to know that He loves us, that He's pursuing us, but He also wants us to know, or wants us to understand, that it's going to take us going all in with His plan, all in with His purpose. And guys, I believe Scripture teaches us that we are meant for more, that we're not just called to survive, that Jesus didn't die on a brutal cross so that we could just survive, but He endured death so that we could thrive, so that we could move forward. And guys, I love the story of the children of Israel, because we can personally and corporately learn a lot about God through their story. We can see His character, His nature, His pursuit. And guys, what I wanted to do these first 2 weeks of this series was to start, like I said, with the heart of what God is calling us to. That it all starts with a heart. It starts with a longing for more of God, more of His presence, more of His favor, more of His purpose and His plan for our lives. That His promise is not just for us individually, but His promise is for us corporately as a body, as a church, as we're moving forward. Guys, we believe that God has called us to something more. And guys, I wanted us to have a good biblical foundation so that we could have the right lens by which we see this plan that God has given our church. That's the whole purpose of this last 2 weeks. A couple of weeks ago, you got a chance to hear the story of our church. And if you missed that Sunday, we've put a video online that tells the whole story. You saw just a clip of it there. But we put this video online, and over the last week, we have had 8,500 people watch that video. That's unbelievable. 8,500 people who are interested in our young little church. And that says something to me. That it says that people are curious. They're interested. What's God doing there? There's something going on at that church. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to get really specific with the details of God's plan for Life Center for the next 2 years and the cost for pulling this off. And today I'm actually going to sit down. I don't typically sit down. Bobby, it's hard for me to sit down because when I talk, I like to move around and I get into it. But I want to sit down. I'm going to try to sit calmly today and share with you this information. What we're talking about today has been it's been a long process for us as we've been preparing for the future. Can I give you a little backstory here? Back in November of this last year, we started this conversation with a small group of 20 families who we shared this information with, and we wanted to start with a smaller group of people so that would give them time to ask questions. So they could ask questions. We could dig more into the details of God's vision for us. And then after having that one time, kind of what we called a pace setter meeting, I had an opportunity where I sat down and I met with each of those families individually in separate meetings. And so I can tell you the month of December was extremely busy for me. My wife can tell you because I had meetings almost every single day. But I met with those families separately and just kind of walked them through the process, gave them time to process what they've heard and for them to ask questions about this vision on a personal level. And it was just a wonderful time where I got to meet a lot of great people and really get to know people on a deeper level. Then what we did was we shared this information with our Life Center partners back in January. Just so you know, when I say partners, or some of you who are new, that's not some exclusive group here at Life Center. If you're interested in becoming a Life Center partner with us, it's real simple. We've got a lunch today, and we'd love to invite you to it. You don't have to sign up. You can show up today. We have 18 new people who are looking at joining us in partnership. Isn't that awesome? 18 new people today. And so if you're interested in hearing about that, we'd love to have you at that. And so you can attend our Next Steps lunch and then you can become a partner with us. You just partner in ministry with us. That's all it means. We don't say membership around here just because of what membership means in our culture. Membership is kind of like, what's the benefits? What do I get from this? Partnership says something different. Partnership says, no, I'm joining you. We're going together. We're going in. We're going to partner together in the mission that God has called us to. That's something that I want to be a part of. I want to partner with people. I don't want to just have membership here and be like a country club. Okay, we want to partner together. So back to those first two events. Both of those two events, we took some time. We let people speak into the vision, affirm God's direction for our church. And so today, you're going to get to hear what those first two groups heard and even get the result of those first two meetings because they shared some things with us that we've kind of added to this whole thing. And they've spoken into the vision, and we want to give you an opportunity to do that as well. My door is open at any moment. You can call our church office and meet with me. I would love to meet with you. But guys, in week one of this series, what we did was we handed you a guidebook. Everybody got a guidebook? If you don't have a guidebook, you would like to have one, we have some. You can raise your hand. We've got people back in the back that can bring one to you. Just lift it up real high, and we'll get one to you. If you're watching online, our guys on our online who are leading that in the little chat there, they'll ask for your email address, and they'll shoot you a PDF form of that, all right? Also, when you came in today, you received a one-pager. Now, that one-pager is just a snapshot. It's just a quick picture, and we'll get into that, just kind of an abbreviated. We'll look at that a little bit later. Anyway, it's going to be a good time together. But inside your guidebook, you're going to see a couple of things. On page 2, you're going to see a mission statement as a church. And that's where it all starts for us. It starts with a mission. God has given us a mission. Thriving as a church starts by leading all people to experience a growing relationship with the one true God. Now, over the last year and a half, really last year, we kind of relaunched our church. And that was the vision that God has given us, the mission and the direction we're headed. And our heart is this. It's simply to see people experience the presence of God firsthand. It's very simple. We believe that His presence is what changes us. It's nothing else. It's God. He changes us, and it all starts with a relationship with Him. Now, the key to a thriving church is growing all people in their relationship with God. Now, we've always longed as a church we're a church that's about 7 years old. God planted this seed in the heart of a guy by the name of Scott Cooper 9 years ago, but our church is really about 7 years old. But we've always had a longing to have a place to grow people, to do more ministry. And as a leadership team, we knew God would tell us when that season was right. And some of you in here may be going, okay, well, who's on the leadership team? Is there anybody in here who doesn't know who's on the leadership team at our church? You can raise your hand. It's okay if you don't know who's on our leadership team. Okay, everybody knows, I think. That's great. But I'm going to tell you who they are. First of all, of course, me as your pastor is on that leadership team. Troy Donaldson, where's Troy at? Troy's right here in the front. He's on our leadership team. Chad Berry, right back in the back. He's on our leadership team. And then Lee Stinson. Lee, are you? He's in the booth back there. He's waving at us back here in the back. He's back there doing our online stuff and our words on the screen. But these guys are our leaders, help us, me as the pastor, in making decisions. That I'm not just some lone ranger out here just trying to come up with things. That we are praying together as a team. We're working together as a team and listening from God, praying, God, what is the direction of our church? And so these men are my accountability. They're walking with me. But we have been in a season of God, where do you want us to go? You know, we've longed for a place to call our own for a while now. And so we believe now as a leadership team that the season for us is quickly approaching. The time to prepare for that season is right now. It's right now. And so our leadership and our finance team, they've done their due diligence in regards to kind of expanding the vision, preparing for the future of where God wants us to go and what He wants us to do. And so what I want to do today is I want to take just a few moments and I'm going to lay out for you some financial numbers. And as I do that, here's the deal. I want you to understand that numbers represent people. They represent life change. They represent ministry reach in reaching people. It's part of the seed, and we've been talking about this, but it's part of the seed that God gives us to grow people. He uses that. And so as I'm sharing with you, we're not just talking about money here, we're talking about ministry. And one of the things Life Center probably has not been really good at, I know since I've been here, is explaining to you what a budget looks like for our church. And I'm not sure you care about the details of our budget, but what I want to do is I'm going to take just a moment and I want to break down some numbers for you so you can understand where we are as a church, where your giving is going to. Not only break that down, but what I want to do really today is I want to celebrate what God's done. I want you to hear this because you may not know some of this information, but God has done some incredible things over this last couple years. He really has some unbelievable things. We've seen our finances grow in unbelievable ways over this last few years. In 2019, guys, we ended the year around $407,000 for the year. $407,000. In 2020, last year, we ended the year with $610,000. That is a $203,000 increase in 1 year. And it was in the middle of a pandemic. Guys, if that doesn't tell you something, I don't know where you're at, because let me just tell you this. That goes to show that God has a plan for Life Center Church, and it's a good plan. He's been so faithful to us. There's so many churches that are struggling, and God, His favor has been on this place. His favor has been on you. And we're beginning to move into a season of thriving. Guys, that is a 50% increase. But each person who attends Life Center Church will be impacted by our growth track, that we are making disciples of Jesus through this track. So we pulled this strategy straight out of Acts chapter 2, verses 42 through 47. And I'm not going to dig into that and read it for you today, but I'm going to challenge you. If you haven't read it, go and read it and check out what it has to say about this. But from Acts chapter 2, we developed an acrostic from the word Acts, A-C-T-S. My Baptist roots, that's the way I love acrostics and flannel boards. But Acts chapter 2, where that word comes from, Acts, A-C-T-S, stands for attend, connect, transform, share. Everybody say it with me. Attend, connect, transform, share. One more time. Attend, connect, transform, share. Everything we do at Life Center Church falls in one of those four categories. That's where it falls. And so I want to take just a few minutes. I'm going to break down for you each of those categories and what is going to cost to pull off each of those categories so you can have a better understanding of how this impacts people, okay? And before I get into the deeper financial details of each of those areas, what I want you to understand is we take our staff, okay, personnel, our administration, and materials, and we spread the cost of each of those things out over all four areas. So 25% of our staffing and administration costs goes into each of those four areas. So as you're looking at that sheet, we want you to know that. 25% in each of those four buckets deals with our staffing personnel and the administration part of that. And guys, our prayer and our dream is that our staff grows. We do. We want to see our staff grow. We want to see our team grow. Some of the people who are currently on our staff right now are unpaid. They do it for free. That's unbelievable. The amount of time that people on our staff who are unpaid, it would blow your mind, the amount of time that they put in here, up here on Friday evenings. I came up here and one of our staff and their spouse was up here, an unpaid staff, on a Friday, cleaning off the parking lot and cleaning out bathrooms and all kinds of different things. But our prayer and our dream is to see that staff grow. We want to see that team grow, expand as we grow as a church. And at the bottom of each of those areas, you're going to see a total cost for each area of ministry, which includes that 25% of staffing and administration. Does everybody understand that? Shake your head if you get it. Yeah, okay. All right, good. So let's talk about how we're going to grow people real quick. Let's start with attend, all right? We put a high value on attendance because attendance is where it all starts for everyone who attends Life Center Church. I've shared this passage 100 times with you guys. It's one of my favorite. But in Psalms chapter 92, verses 13 through 15, it says this: the righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon. Planted in the house of the Lord, they will flourish in the courts of God. Guys, we believe God-sized things happen when people are planted in the church. We do. That God moves when we come together and we worship and we listen to the teaching of God's word. Guys, we've experienced it. Guys, we just saw Zach today. That's life change. He gave his life to Christ a couple of weeks ago. We've seen multiple people over this last year go through the waters of baptism. It's life change. People's lives are being changed. It's unbelievable. So we want to make sure we offer the best worship experience possible, which is why we prioritize ministry activities on Sunday mornings for everyone, and then on Wednesday nights for teenagers. Over the last several months, we've seen multiple students give their life to Christ. It's been an awesome deal. And maybe you're wondering, okay, Spencer, what goes into attend? Well, we got a lot of things that go into Wednesday nights, Sunday mornings that are expenses. That make these environments happen. Things like sermon prep materials, illustrations, graphics, video, rental equipment, lighting, sound. 50% of our First Impressions ministry, our host team ministry tools, security team resources and detail. We have security officers here every Sunday morning and even on Wednesday nights. They are here watching over us, and so that's what some of those costs go towards. But almost every week, guys, we're seeing our attendance climb. I don't know if you've noticed that. Even in COVID and snow and everything else, our attendance is climbing. And I don't say that because I want us to become some mega church. I say that because the more people in the room, the more people who have an opportunity to experience what we experience. That's it. That they get to experience God in a powerful way. And I'm not saying that life change doesn't happen outside of these environments. I'm just saying that if we believe God-sized things happen when we get together, then why wouldn't we want people to experience what we experience? Just why? Guys, we believe if we can get people here, then they're going to experience what we experience. And that's the first step in their growth. That's the first step. And so we want to see those worship environments that we have continue to grow. So the cost of pulling this off over the next 2 years will be a total of $280,000 is what we've come up with. This is going to allow us to improve our worship experience, even move to more services. Guys, attend is one of the things that we put a high value on, all right? Second track is connect. That's our second track. To know and to be known is something every heart can benefit from. And so at Life Center, we desire to emphasize the importance of connection through several avenues. Those include life groups. Those include men's and women's ministries. We're going to be getting those fired up quickly. Life Center students, Life Center kids, Sunday morning worship, and engaging our community at large with our online platforms. Guys, we are seeing around 500 plus views a week on our online platform. Many of the people who are visiting our church physically are seeing us for the first time online. And so we believe God is calling us to step on our online experiences so that we can connect with more people. That means that we need better equipment to make that happen. So we just recently purchased new video equipment. And hopefully those of you who are watching online, you have seen the quality of that experience grow exponentially. We started out, we didn't know what the heck we were doing. I'm just telling you right now, half the time it didn't work. Y'all remember Easter last year? That was my first Easter as a pastor. All right, it's during the middle of a pandemic and we're having to meet online, and then our online fails. I'm like, I'm a horrible pastor. This is horrible. But anyway, God's been faithful, but we've updated our equipment. Things have gotten so much better. Guys, we want to see our life group ministry grow. Guys, when our groups grow, we believe people grow. And Charlie Baskin has taken our life group ministry to another level, and we're seeing those groups grow. And so over the next couple of years, we want to go from seeing 60% of our congregation who's currently connected to a life group to over 80% of our congregation connect in life groups. Guys, we want to invest financially in those groups for curriculum and training. Like I said earlier, men's and women's ministry are going to be a big deal for us at Life Center. We've just recently identified some leaders in our church who are going to help us take these ministries to another level. We've already scheduled out some women's events and men's events in this year. One of the first events is coming up in April for our men. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time together, but we cannot wait to share those dates with you and get the men in this room plugged in, the women in this room plugged in with each other. Guys, every week we're seeing our students connect to life groups and connect to Life Center through Wednesday nights. And so we just recently moved our student coordinator, Matt Stewart, to a full-time position. Can we get up for Matt Stewart? Dude, he's such a blessing. He and Shane both, I'm telling you, are taking our student ministry to another level. And so we're excited about them pouring into the next generation as Christ followers. So Wednesday nights are key to connecting those kids to life groups and church. Guys, on those nights, students' lives, like I said, they're being transformed by the gospel. Discipleship is taking place. Guys, we have to be a heart that's about the next generation. We have to be, because I'm telling you, the world is going after your kids. And so we're going to put a high priority on it in discipling them, growing them in their faith with Christ. You heard Matt talk about summer camp. We want to get to a point where every kid in our community who wants to go to camp, who can't afford it, we pay for it. I believe we can do it, church. That we give them an opportunity to encounter Christ at a week at camp. We took 30 students to camp last year. Guys, our heart is to double that this year. All right, and I think we can do that. Guys, our children's ministry, and I don't know if we're throwing pictures up there on the screen or not, but our children's ministry, we have, I believe, the best children's pastor in the country. I've said this. Anybody else? Come on. Deb Donaldson is absolutely killing it in a good way, our kids ministry. And so we're investing in our kids ministry. Guys, every Sunday morning, her and her team are pouring in to this next generation. And so 50% of our children's ministry, our student budgets, come out of that Connect bucket. All right, so the total cost of pulling off the Connect track over the next 2 years is $272,000. Is what it's going to cost us for the next 2 years to make those programs exceptional. Our third track is transformation. This is a big one, all right? To grow is to be changed, and so we want to see people discipled in their walk with Christ. So as our people grow in their walk with Christ, they are transformed into leaders, and what leaders do is leaders serve. They serve others. They become more and more like Jesus. Jesus was characterized by the way he gave himself away and how he served others. And so the word we use to describe our Life Center volunteers is the word leader. We don't usually use the word volunteers around here because I want you to understand, as a disciple of Christ and you're serving this church, you're more than just a volunteer. You're a leader. You're shepherding people. You're leading people who come onto this campus. You're given a circle of influence, and each of you are called to lead out at some capacity as a follower of Jesus. You're not just sitting there and soaking. You're getting involved and you're serving. And guys, we know that the telling of a true life change is how leaders spend their time, their talent, and their treasure. And so we want to see our people, be used by God for huge things, to lead out in unbelievable areas. And in order to see thriving transformation take place, we must have a place to train leaders. So over the next 2 years, we're planning on spending $650,000 to see transformation takes place. This will include 50% of the next gen budget, training, discipling materials for those areas. This will include our Grow Nights. Some of you experienced a Grow Night last fall. We're going to get back in the habit of doing those. But Grow is where we guide our people to take the next step in our ACTS, Attend, Connect, Transform, Share growth track. It will also cover assets such as office rentals, storage leases, utilities, and finally, this is the area where we will be paying off our land so that we can finally establish our forever home. So a large chunk of that $650,000 is going toward in the next 2 years to pay that off as quickly as possible. The quicker we pay that off, the quicker we move forward. Okay? The final track is share. Guys, we believe God has called us to share locally and globally, that Life Center Church is built on the backs of those who are bold enough to share their faith with others to eventually see this church born. We know the same is true for the church of the future, where we're headed. Guys, in Acts chapter 1, Jesus said, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in Judea, and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And that call wasn't just for the first disciples, it was for us as well. That he's called us to share. And so in the next 2 years, God is calling us to go outside of the walls of this church and serve our community through multiple local partnerships, such as FCA, Open Door Pregnancy Center, the Hope Center, Nashville Rescue Center. I've been meeting with Stephen. We're going to have a monthly trip where we take a group of volunteers to the Nashville Rescue and serve there. We're going to have opportunities on a global scale to partner with Operation Mobilization, Operation Christmas Child. In the next 2 years, we plan on Life Center people being on the ground in at least 2 other countries sharing the love of Jesus on mission trips. Guys, we want to get after it. We want this community and we want the world to know the love of Christ. So there was going to be multiple opportunities in missions over the next 2 years for you to get plugged in and for us to love on this community well, to love on the least, last, and lost. The least, the last, the lost. We're going to focus on it. So the total cost to pull off Thriving to Share over the next 2 years is going to be $295,000. So if you add all of those things together, you come up with $1.5 million over the next 2 years. Guys, when we sow the seed that God gives us, God does something beautiful. Guys, it's his plan from the very beginning that he would supply the seed and that we would plant that seed in the ground and he would grow it. That's what we're going to be doing as a church. And each and every one of us have a different amount of seed to sow. And so we want to be good stewards of the seed that God has given us. And we want to give you a good understanding of what we're going to do with that seed so that you see what you're sowing into your tithe. We want you to see it. We want you to know, guys. It's also a call to think of what could happen. What could happen if we sowed more into the things of God? To give above and beyond the tithe and invest deeply into something that God has called us to do. And guys, as you may have guessed, all right, the church leadership, we've been working hard on this for months. And we put a lot of hours into this. We've secured counsel from several trusted, well-known professionals. And we've prayed. We've worked diligently to truly focus in on God's will for us as a church in this thriving season. And guys, in order for us to reach our goal of $1.5 million for the next 2 years, each of us will need to do our part with the seed that God has provided for us. So here's what I want you to do. In the back of your book, if you'll notice, there's a commitment card in the back of the book. And I've been thinking about this. I've been praying about this for a while. You've heard me talk a little bit about it. In fact, last week I called this commitment card a prompt card. Guys, a commitment card feels, to me, almost like a campaign type thing. And one of the things that I told you over the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, is I hate campaigns. Guys, but I'll tell you, I'll give my life to a ministry plan. If somebody show me a plan, how are we going to impact people? That I'm willing to go all in on something. And one of the things that we've been considering, our leadership talked about this yesterday with this commitment card. This is a commitment between you and God. But the question for us is like, how do we know what people are going to commit to? And how can we plan for the future? You know, if we don't know what people are giving. And so we have commitment cards. Here's what I've been praying about this, thinking about this. I'm going to challenge you as a church to commit. But here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to make you write your name on your commitment card. We're going to need to know as a church, as a leadership team, of what money we have coming in for the next 2 years so that we can plan. We may, when we see what everybody decides to commit to, we may see that we need to really start thinking about moving forward with paying this off and building a building or purchasing a building quickly. But we need to know what people are going to commit to. But there was a tension in me tension in even our leadership team about the personal commitment to this. And the way that it does, it kind of feels like a campaign when I'm having to sign a card. And guys, here's part of the deal. We understand that where we are as a culture right now, and that we're in very uncertain times. Some of you are worried about that. You're like, well, Pastor, what if I sign a commitment card and I put my name down, I sign my name to it, and I lose my job? Then what happens? I will say this, God knows. When you sign a commitment or whatever, God knows that. But the deal is this: I want to release you from thinking, oh no, what are people going to think about me? I'm not going to know what anyone commits to. In fact, our finance team isn't going to know who is committing to what. But we're going to ask you in the next 2 weeks to pray about, to consider, to allow God to prompt your heart on what your role is in the mission that God has called us to. I'm telling you right now, God wants to do something great with His church. And He wants to do something great through you. Like I said, in Malachi chapter 3, He's saying, test me. And that's what these commitment cards are about. They're about saying to God, okay, God, I'm going to test you because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sacrifice. Over these next 2 years, I'm going to sacrifice some things so that I can see you move in this community. So I can see you impact the world around me, that you would use me for something great. So where do we go from here, okay? This Wednesday night, we are going to have a pre-commitment night. But on this night, this particular night is for those of you who have partnered with us. You are a Life Center partner. You're one of our key volunteers. On Wednesday night, we're going to have a kind of a pre-commitment night. And what we're going to ask you to do is we're going to ask you to bring your commitment card with you. And we want you to pray. Of course, you've been praying about this. But pray, God, what is it that you want us to commit to? On that commitment card, I think do we have a copy of one of those back there? Tech people. If you'll notice, this is what is on that Connect card. There's an area there where it says current annual giving to Life Center Church. That deals with your tithe. It starts with, we talk about, we as a church, we believe that God automatically says 10% of what we have goes to God. And so we put that in there, up there. There's an expanded annual generosity. And so this is considered what we call an offering. That it's above and beyond. That you're saying, okay, the 10% I already knew, God, that was an automatic. God commands us to do this. But here's what I'm praying about. That God is saying, hey, could I do more? Could I step out and do even more than what I'm currently doing? And then it has an equal down there, it equals the 2 years giving. And then there's also an area down here on the bottom of this card that says annual gifts from stored resources. There may be some of you in here, you've got some stored resources. You say, you know what, Pastor? I've got some stored resources of some things. Maybe I'm going to step out in faith even further, and I'm going to go all in even further. And I've got some other resources that I can add to that. And then there's a 2-year commitment to Thrive. And so what we're going to ask for those of you who are partners with us, this Wednesday night we're going to be meeting. Hopefully you should have gotten a card in the mail that talks about the location of where we're going to meet. Let me pull this up here so I'll make sure I get this right. But we're going to be meeting at 6:30 at the barn at Fiddledee Farms in Greenbrier, all right? And if you are you're like, Pastor, I'm a partner. I did not receive an invitation. I would like to receive an invitation so I can know the address, how to get to this place, 6:30 on Wednesday night. You can come to the back at our connection center. Miss Jenny will be back there, and we can take your name and your email address, and we'll send you an invitation to make sure you receive that. For the rest of us, for those of you who say, hey, I'm not quite ready, Pastor, to partner with Life Center. We're still thinking through this, but you know what? I'll give to this, and I want to be a part of this and what God is calling us to do, but I'm not quite ready to go all in. On March 7th, that is not this next Sunday, but the next Sunday, it is our commitment Sunday. And on that day, we're all going to bring our commitment cards with us. And we're going to celebrate that day, what God has done and what we're going to commit to over the next 2 years together. And man, it's going to be a great day of celebration of being able to look what God's doing. Look where we're headed in the next 2 years. Guys, I believe on March 7th, we're going to be able to get to our finance people. We're going to be able to look at all of our commitment cards and go, holy cow, over the next 2 years, we're blowing our goal out of the water. It's going to be a powerful, powerful thing. And guys, I'm excited about where God is leading us, what he's going to do through you and through me in the years to come. Anybody else excited about it? Y'all ready to go? Y'all ready to go? Y'all ready to have a forever home at Life Center Church, to be able to have a place that we call our own, a place to do ministry, and a place to get out into this community and love on people and reach people well? We'll be able to do even more than what we've done over the last 7 years. I believe, God, that we are just getting started about where we're headed, all right? Guys, listen, if you have any questions about any of this, I pointed out to you who our leadership team is, Chad, Troy, Lee, myself. We want to let you know we're here for you. We're here for you, and we want to help you out in this process.